Imagine achieving everything you've ever wanted, fame, wealth, admiration, only to wake up one day and realize none of it matters. This is exactly what happened to Leo Tolstoy. At the peak of his success, Tolstoy was admired across the world. His novels, War and Peace and Anna Karenina, were considered literary masterpieces. He had wealth, fame, and a loving family. Yet none of it mattered. Despite everything, he felt an unbearable emptiness inside. He couldn't escape a terrifying question. What is the point of life if everything ends in death? This single thought consumed him. His passion for writing faded. Joy disappeared. He spiraled into an existential crisis so deep that he questioned whether life was even worth living. But instead of surrendering to despair, Tolstoy began searching for answers that would lead him down a path of philosophy, spirituality, and a radical transformation. What he discovered might just change the way you see your own life. Tolstoy's early life and success. Leo Tolstoy was born in 1828 into a wealthy aristocratic family in Russia. He had everything a person could ask for: land, servants, and a prestigious family name. But despite his privileged upbringing, his childhood was marked by tragedy. His parents died when he was young, leaving him with a deep sense of loss. As he grew older, he tried to find purpose in different ways. He joined the military, traveled across Europe, and even indulged in a reckless lifestyle filled with gambling and pleasure. But nothing gave him lasting fulfillment. It was through writing that Tolstoy found his first sense of meaning. His novels, War and Peace and Anna Karenina, became global masterpieces. Readers admired his deep understanding of human nature. Critics hailed him as one of the greatest writers of all time. The Existential Crisis. At the height of his fame, Tolstoy had everything a man could dream of: wealth, success, and recognition as one of the greatest writers of all time. Yet, none of it brought him peace. A single question began to haunt him. If one day I will die, then what is the point of anything I do? This question consumed him. Every time he tried to ignore it, it only grew louder. He realized that no amount of success could change one simple fact. One day, he would be gone, and nothing he built would last forever. He searched for answers in philosophy. He read the works of great thinkers, hoping someone had solved this riddle. But instead of comfort, he found more despair. The rationalists told him life had no inherent meaning. The scientists explained life in mechanical terms, reducing existence to a series of physical processes. None of it helped. The deeper he searched, the more hopeless he felt. He'd lost all joy in writing. Life itself started to feel like a cruel joke. His despair became so overwhelming that he even considered taking his own life. But in his darkest moment, Tolstoy noticed something strange. While the intellectuals and elites around him were just as lost as he was, ordinary peasants who had none of his wealth or knowledge seemed to live with a quiet sense of purpose, and that realization led him to a new path in his search for meaning. At his lowest point, Tolstoy did something unexpected, something that would completely change the course of his life. But before we get to that, let's understand what led him to this breaking point. The search for truth. Tolstoy became obsessed with understanding why the simple peasants around him lived with a quiet sense of peace, while he, a man of wealth and knowledge, was drowning in despair. He observed that these people, despite their hardships, had something he lacked: faith. They believed in something greater than themselves. Their lives were guided by a deep spiritual understanding that gave them purpose. This realization shook him. He had spent years searching for answers in philosophy, science, and logic, but none of it had brought him peace. Could the answer lie in something beyond reason? Tolstoy began studying religion. He explored Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, and Hinduism. He read the teachings of saints, mystics, and ancient scriptures. He was searching for a universal truth, something that could explain the purpose of life. But he struggled. He couldn't accept the rigid dogmas of organized religion. He saw contradictions in religious institutions. Yet, at the core of these teachings, he found a simple truth: meaning wasn't something to be discovered intellectually, it was something to be lived. This realization changed everything. He saw that true meaning didn't come from success, wealth, or even knowledge. It came from how one lived, from love, kindness, and service to others. With this newfound understanding, Tolstoy's life took a radical turn. Tolstoy's radical transformation. Tolstoy couldn't go back to his old life. The wealth, the fame, the luxuries, it all felt meaningless now. He saw the life of nobility as artificial and empty, built on greed and vanity. So, he made a drastic decision. He renounced his aristocratic lifestyle and began living like the peasants he once observed. He dressed in simple clothes, worked in the fields, and rejected material wealth. He gave up his copyrights, refusing to profit from his books. But his transformation wasn't just external. His entire worldview changed. He became a passionate advocate for nonviolence, spiritual awakening, and moral living. He wrote essays criticizing the government, the church, and the exploitation of the poor. His radical ideas were so influential that they inspired Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance. Yet, not everyone accepted this change. His wife, Sophia, was devastated by his decisions. She couldn't understand why he was throwing away his fortune and legacy. Their relationship became strained, filled with constant conflict. In the final years of his life, Tolstoy felt torn between his beliefs and the pressures of his old world. And in the end, he made one last fateful decision. One cold October morning, an 82-year-old Tolstoy put on a simple coat, walked away from his estate, and never looked back. He set out on a journey, seeking a life of pure simplicity. But the harsh Russian winter took its toll, and within days he fell gravely ill. He died at a remote railway station, far from the wealth and luxury he was born into. But by then, Tolstoy had already found his answer. The true meaning of life had nothing to do with fame, success, or possessions. It was about how one lived, how one loved, and how one served others. The legacy of Tolstoy's philosophy. Tolstoy's search for meaning didn't just change his own life, it changed the world. His writings on morality, spirituality, and non-violence influenced some of the greatest minds in history. Mahatma Gandhi was deeply inspired by Tolstoy's ideas, especially his belief in non-violent resistance. Their letters shaped Gandhi's philosophy, which later played a crucial role in India's independence movement. Martin Luther King Jr. also drew from Tolstoy's teachings in his fight for civil rights. But Tolstoy's influence wasn't limited to politics. His views on simple living, self-discipline, and spiritual awakening continue to resonate today. Many of his later works, like The Kingdom of God is Within You, explore themes of inner peace and moral responsibility. Even in modern times, his existential struggles feel familiar. His crisis, the fear of meaninglessness, the search for purpose, is something many people still face, and his answer remains as relevant as ever. True meaning isn't found in wealth, success, or even knowledge. It's found in how we live, how we love, and how we serve others. Perhaps that's why, more than a century after his death, Tolstoy's journey still speaks to us, because in his deepest despair, he found a truth that can guide us all. Conclusion. What can we learn from Tolstoy? Tolstoy's life teaches us a powerful lesson. No amount of success, money, or fame can fill the void of a meaningless life. He had everything society tells us to chase: wealth, recognition, and status. Yet, none of it brought him lasting happiness. It was only when he let go of his ego and dedicated himself to a life of simplicity, love, and service that he found true peace. So, what can we take from his journey? Question everything. Tolstoy didn't accept life at face value. He questioned his existence, his beliefs, and the world around him. True wisdom begins with deep questioning. Happiness comes from within. No external success can replace inner fulfillment. Lasting peace comes from living with purpose, not from chasing achievements. Serve others. Tolstoy realized that meaning is found in what we give, not what we take. When we live for something greater than ourselves, life becomes richer. His story is a reminder that the real meaning of life isn't something to be discovered, it's something to be created through the way we live every day. And maybe, just maybe, if we learn from Tolstoy's search, we won't have to go through the same despair to find our own answers.